Thank you very much, Brother Ahsan, and to you and your colleagues for organizing this urgent and critical discussion. I am particularly pleased to have this discussion happening within within a Muslim context, because quite often we neglect this strategic depth for Palestine and the Palestinian people, or rather, we tend to associate it with certain religious and spiritual elements, but we kind of fail to perceive Palestine and try to process our understanding of Palestine from a political, Islamic political analysis and Islamic political context. Number one, we understand that Palestine is not just a subject for Muslims, but Muslims are a core in this discussion. Not because of certain affiliations to the to Palestine as a place where Al-Aqsa Mosque and a majority of Muslims live, but also because of the values that as Muslims we embrace and we carry with us. Values regarding justice, values regarding peace, regarding camaraderie, brotherhood, sisterhood. These are at the core. This is really the essence of our relationship with our religion, and therefore relationship towards Palestine, but also towards other subjects and other tragedies that are afflicting the Muslim Ummah, from Kashmir to Afghanistan to Iraq to Somalia to Yemen to Libya to Syria to elsewhere. So I think this is really important to try to delineate early on in the process. Recently, I have been writing articles to magazines and newspapers in Pakistan. And I was told, make a case of why Pakistan should not be normalizing with Israel. That was a few weeks ago, when Pakistan was under immense pressure to follow the footsteps of other, unfortunately, of other Arab countries and other Muslim countries that have normalized with Israel. And I made what I perceive to be a proper political analysis. You should not normalize with apartheid. You should not normalize Israeli occupation, racism. It's our role as Muslims to do so, and so forth, and to reject injustice. But at the end, I said, but then imagine this scenario. Sooner or later, Israel is going to attack Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere. Sooner or later, Palestinians are their bodies are going to pile up in hospital morgues. Sooner or later, we are going to see pictures of children, their mothers, their fathers, pleading for us to come to their rescue, to their help. And we're going to stand there and we're going to do our best. But at the end of the day, we are going to be largely helpless before this scene. Now, imagine that you were one of those who normalized with Israel. And there is an Israeli ambassador whining and dining in Islamabad, as they are in Manama and as they are in Dubai and elsewhere in the Muslim world. Imagine this scenario. How do you escape your conscience? How do you escape the conscience of the collective conscience of the Ummah? How do you escape the protests, the millions of people gathering in your towns and your cities, raising Palestinian flags, chanting for Al-Aqsa, chanting for the Palestinian people? That is just the bad move to make. And, I can only thank Allah that Pakistan did not make that horrible choice, because now they would have to be dealing with the terrible consequences of what Israel is doing to Gaza. I am from Gaza. I was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp in Gaza, and forever I will always identify as that same Gazan boy who left Gaza about 20 or so years ago. But I'm also a Palestinian, and I will always be a Palestinian. And it's so important that we start making these clear affiliations. We often refer to Gaza and Gazans. Yes, we are Gazans, but we are Gazans within the Palestinian national context. We call it in Arabic, we call Ghazawi. Ghazawi, it means I'm from Gaza. But I am also a refugee from historic Palestine. My family was ethnically cleansed in 1948. My village was destroyed. My people were ethnically cleansed. A genocide was carried out against my nation. This is why I am in Gaza, in a Gazan refugee camp. My brothers live in the West Bank. My sister lives in Gaza. My cousins live in what they call Israel today, Palestine 48. My cousins live in Al-Quds in Jerusalem. We are one nation. We have only one address, and that address is Palestine. And that is the tragedy, but the beauty about what is happening to us right now. This is a bittersweet moment where our people are facing a genocide, and I hate to try to associate this situation with any kind of positive sentiments and terminologies. But the truth is, yes, Israel is doing all of this, but it's equally true that we are fighting as one nation. Muslims and Christians, people in the West Bank and in Gaza, inside Palestine 48, from Al-Lud to Al-Fahim to Nasra, but to Haifa, but also to Ramallah, also to Nablus and Hebron and Khalil, also to Gaza and Rafah and Khan Yunis, and Palestinians in Shatat, of course, in addition to Al-Quds. And that's the beauty of what's happening. Netanyahu wanted to score some cheap political points against the Palestinian people. He wanted to be re-elected as a prime minister. He wanted to form an emergency government. He wanted to shield himself from being thrown in prison because of his corruption cases. So he thought Palestinians are isolated. They are neglected. Arabs are normalizing. Africans are normalizing. Asians are normalizing. They are losing their global solidarity. Nobody cares about them. So he had hoped that he can achieve this cheap political score in Jerusalem, thinking nobody is going to come to the aid of the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Nobody is going to come to the aid of few Palestinian families that are going to be kicked out by Jewish extremists. But he was wrong. He was terribly wrong. Not only Al-Quds, the whole of Jerusalem came to the rescue, but the whole of Gaza, the West Bank, the entire Palestinian nation is coming to the rescue. And now behind them, there is this massive global movement that is rooted in civil societies. People, if you come to the US, you would be shocked to see the demographics of the pro-Palestinian protests, where you have Black people, you have Asians, you have Latinos, you have people of all sorts of ethnic and religious and racial backgrounds standing in unison. And the language they speak is absolutely new. It is so different from anything that we are used to. This sensitivity that we have been using to describe what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, this desperate attempt at finding neutral positions, it doesn't exist anymore. People are angry and they are calling Israel what it is, an apartheid genocidal state. And we need, as Muslims, to be part of this global movement. We cannot isolate ourselves, and we cannot speak a language that only applies to our people. We need to be leaders in this movement, and we need to represent the Palestinian cause globally as well, until we reach that coveted critical mass that will eventually allow us to achieve that paradigm shift, to allow us to achieve that South African moment when apartheid in South Africa was defeated. So thank you so much for listening to me.